Yeah, Love and Legacy Pod.
El segundo.
Here we are.
Enjoyed our first episode. If you have not seen it,
go back and watch it.
Go back and like it.
Subscribe. Comment. All the things we're supposed to say right now.
All the things.
Yeah.
Today we are going to talk about how we met.
Oof.
Because we realize there are some of you guys that we don't know y'all. So let's get to know each other.
Yeah.
And how it all started.
Yeah, you start the story, baby.
I start the story. All right. How we met. Well, we met at Liberty University.
Shout out LU Flames. I don't know what the thing is. I don't know what the logo is.
I don't either. I was going to try to, but
don't Google.
I'm not.
Liberty.
Yeah. So, yeah, we met. I was in college at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on one of the worship ministry teams, the LU Praise. Shout out LU Praise.
Yep.
Shout out Dr. Whaley.
Yep.
And LU Praise team. And they used to do this thing called College for a Weekend where high schoolers would come. We'd put on a concert to kind of be like, hey, you should come join. Blah, 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 blah. And I worked on campus, so instead of going home, I grabbed some food and was like, I'm going to just show up earlier before sound check.
Sure.
And just hang out, catch my breath, and then, we'll get into it.
Yeah, I played for this choir before.
Yes.
It's just a gospel choir. My wife is giving y'all the
it's a gospel choir. Well, because these details matter to the story.
They don't matter.
They do.
The gospel choir, she was singing on the gospel choir, and I used to play for that choir, and then I got put on academic probation, so I'm not playing for them no more. But this is their first concert. My sister's part of the group.
Yeah.
And the girl I was kind of dating at the time was also part of that group. So I just kind of went to the concert to see my sister and see the girl.
I thought he was a high schooler.
That's her story that she has stuck to for all these years.
Because it is the truth.
She says that she thought I was a high schooler, so she was coming to recruit me. But
yes,
then
because they said,
no one else came over to say anything. And then ask her in the comments how many other people she tried to recruit that night. The answer is 0.
That's not true, because my interaction with him was so like boo that I was like, you know what?
Y'all heard this woman cry over me in the last episode. I don't know why she'd be trying to act like
I'm not
she
lying.
wasn't feeling your boy with my Argyle sweater and my fedora on.
His sister was in the choir. Everyone talked about this Will guy, her
Shout
brother.
out Tiff.
Shout
my
out
sister Tiffany was in the gospel choir.
She was in the choir.
She's the most gospel choir person ever, by the way.
Everybody talked about her brother, like, oh my God, he's such this talented musician. All the girls were like, oh my God, Will. And the reason why no one else came to him was because they all knew he was her brother. I did not, because I had not met him. So that is my story. So anyways, I get there. They're setting up the stage, bringing equipment in. I hold the door out for the team, and all these guys are letting me hold the door for them, walking by. Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And then this one guy's like, nah, I got it. You go ahead, sweetheart. And I said,
I didn't say sweetheart like
you
that.
You did say sweetheart.
Sweetheart.
Not like.
I was like, I got it, shawty. I'm going to hold everything for you, girl.
Sweetheart.
I said, I'm going to hold it down for you, girl.
Okay.
Yeah, your boy.
Aha. Never saw him again. And then.
This story's.
This is the truth, guys. I don't know what you want me to say. This is the truth. Do sound check, blah, 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 whatever. Then they're like, go mingle with some people. I go up to him. He's sitting up by himself. So I'm like, let me go be friendly.
So let's get to the part that matters. The girl I was there dating-ish stood next to Rebecca in the choir.
Yes.
Now, I didn't know that. So don't y'all be dogging me in the comments. I didn't know that they knew each other. And I also didn't know they worked in the same office.
We did.
At the school as well. I saw Rebecca and was like, hey, that's the person. Wherever she's going today is where I'm going to be hanging out afterwards. So a group of us all went and hung out at the same spot. And I'm naturally an introverted person. So I was.
Wait, you're missing a detail that's important to the story. I know. But I introduced myself to him, and if you know any Wilson, they all have the same face. So I'm like, oh my God, you're Tiffany's brother. Are you Will? He tells me some random name. He's like, I'm an only child. What are you talking about?
I still do this to people. And
I was like,
I did it recently.
Okay, which is why I said my interaction with him was so boo that I was like, all right, I'm done recruiting people for the night. Fast forward to the end of the concert, we all go out to eat. There he is.
Yep.
And I'm like, wait. And I say whatever name he gave me. It was something like Eric or something. I don't remember what it was. Everyone at the table busts out laughing. And they're like, this is Will, Tiffany's brother. Which everyone thought it was funny, but I did. Because I'm like, I don't know you. So that's not funny that you like were joking.
When you tell the story, you always harp on this point. You think is really, really important.
It is.
It leads to what I was just saying, that we were all at somebody's house hanging out afterwards.
Well, it's an important detail because it's how we met. I came up to you. You told me your name was Eric and that you were an only child. And I literally went back and was like, hey, nobody go talk to him. His mom obviously forced him to be here.
Anyway, we hang out and I don't really say much that night. And then we hang out again shortly after that.
Yeah.
And
with the group of friends.
That's when I really put the, you know what I'm saying? That's when I really was on some like, yeah, so who are you? Yeah, what's up? And she did make a joke. She did make a reference like, are you gonna tell me your real name today or something like that? So it kind of gave us some conversation. And she kind of let me know like, and Pat had already let me know this, but she had let me know that second time we hung out. And this is why when she'd be like, I was not feeling him, but for some reason the second time we hung out, she was like, by the way, I've got a boyfriend that I'm on again, off again with for the last 3 years.
I did not say on again, off again.
What'd you say?
I said I have a boyfriend.
No, you didn't. She hit me with I got a situation going on.
I don't remember.
And I said,
is
your boy here or not?
I don't remember this part of the story.
And she was like, no, he doesn't really come hang out. He doesn't really come, blah, blah. And that was when I knew like, oh. And I think it was our third time hanging out. It would have been our first time at my house hanging out.
Yeah.
I told you to bring him.
Yes, you did.
We're kicking it at my crib in a couple of days. Like, tell him come.
His house was the hangout spot for
everybody.
Tell him
come. Tell your friend. And she was like, what you had told me the second time we ever hung out was y'all hadn't spoken all summer.
Oh yeah, we were on a break.
That's what you said. That's not on again, off again. That you were on a break.
We were on a break.
And I remember asking you, was this y'all's first break? And you said no. So I'm like, oh, y'all be breaking.
Yeah,
and you were like,
well,
no. So I said, yo, we're hanging out at my house. I think it was the next day.
Yeah.
Tell him come. And she shows up without her boyfriend. And do you remember what I told you that day?
All I remember is you told me to make him a plate, take him food.
That night, yeah. But you came through the door.
I don't remember.
And I'm like, yo, you by yourself? You said, no, yeah.
I think I do.
He didn't come. What did I say?
I think you said something like he's crazy enough to let you come by yourself.
Today's the worst day of his life.
Yeah.
Is what I said. Today's the worst day of his life. Because he let you come hanging out at the restaurant, hanging out at somebody else's spot. I'm going to do me irregardless.
I just remember he said if I had a woman like you, I would never let her
There's
go to
no
some other
way
man's
she'd be
house,
telling me she's going to hang out at some dude's house. And I ain't coming. And I told Rebecca that was the first time coming to my house. Today's the worst day of his life. And she said, what do you mean? Trying to act like she didn't know I was putting the game on her. You feel me?
Here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to own up to it, and I'm going to be honest. All right? I was feeling him, and I could tell that he was feeling me because I do remember, and it might have been that night that I went back and I told him, hey, there's this guy, and I like hanging out with him, and he's not really pursuing me like that, but I just feel like you should know this.
And an old boy, I don't know what his problem was. We praying for him and his family and everything. But long story short, here we are. I don't know where he at. But that is really
That's
gist
how
of
we
it.
met, yeah.
That would have been August.
Yeah.
November I think is when we had our first kiss.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very long hanging out, and I was very like I tried to pretend and give off like I was trying to be cautious and courteous of your
Which
on
is
again.
what also intrigued me. He was very, very respectful. Like I said, when we would all go hang out, he'd be like, here, there's leftovers, and pack up a plate.
I only said that one time.
And was like, take it to your boyfriend.
And you were like, no, I'm not going to see him. I'm like, oh, okay. Interesting. Wouldn't be the strategy I would take, but interesting. Seems like an interesting guy. That really was it. I knew after the first time you came to my house, I knew then, like, oh, I got her. I got her.
And he did.
And I did. You know what I'm saying?
There was just something so different. Like, I just was like.
You know what I'm saying? Here's the thing. When you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? I knew I had put my hooks in you, and I knew that the immature thing would have been to try to reel you in immediately. And not to call you a fish, but it was very much like a very slow and methodical, like, yo, just come hang with the group. Never wanted you to be uncomfortable. Never wanted you to feel weird. Never wanted you to feel like I was pushing too much on you. And it was a different time of life, different season of life.
Yeah.
Where we were learning how to communicate.
Yeah.
I think we both understood pretty early on this relationship is a little bit different than any other one that we've been a part of.
Yeah.
And just based on the season of life I was in, my dad had just passed away.
Yeah, we were both going through a lot in different ways.
There's a lot going on.
I was in therapy, unpacking some childhood stuff.
My dad had passed away. And I had like shut down every relationship back home. Mm-hmm. So I was very much laser focused in on you. And I'm not saying you were not laser focused in on me, but just where we were in life at the time, you left the door cracked a little bit for the other dude. A little bit.
I did. And last episode we talked about knowing yourself and loving yourself.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done that at the time.
Sure.
And so there was a lot of back and forth on my end in the beginning of our relationship, which led to some really turbulent times. Will was extremely patient with me. And I think that a big part of that was just because I hadn't taken the time to love myself. And so I knew that this was different.
But I also showed up as a disruption, and I don't mean that like in a self-deprecation way. That I think you thought you knew what the rest of your life was going to look like with that last relationship, but you also were wrestling with the fact that this relationship, I'm not happy in this relationship, but the life that I'm supposed to have looks a certain way, and I showed up as a disruption.
Yeah.
And there was a certain level of like financial security that relationship would have been able to provide.
And my pride, if I can be honest, because I had spent 3 years and I was very
not
much,
on again, off again, but a lot of breaks.
I was very much like, you know, I would always tell people, like, as you know, when I would start dating people, like, if you don't know that you want to marry me by year 2, then what are we doing? And at this point, we'd been together for 3 years. Which I would not say year 2,
y'all. It's freaking 6 weeks.
Yeah. Which we'll also get into that a little bit more. But I just was like, I'm not gonna be the girl that's gonna waste her time with some guy and then that not.
And that really was a thing for you.
It really was.
We talked about that a lot dating, where you were just like, "Can I believe I gave 3 years of my life to him?"
I was very much, and
I
struggled with that.
I was very grateful for him. I don't mean that. I know it sounds petty, y'all. I don't mean that in a petty way. I was grateful because you're not a busy girl. Mm-hmm. So you were trying to be committed to that relationship, and when y'all were going breaks, you would shut down the potential of anybody else. Yeah. So then by the time you and I meet, like, I'm not having to deal with every restaurant we go to, I got an ex who works here, I got somebody, I know somebody, blah, blah, blah. It just wasn't the case. It definitely came to a head when we got into a really bad argument, and you went to hang out with your former friend who you were on breaks with and cooked a meal. And this is an important part of our story.
It is an important part. Let me preface this by saying I was not my healthiest.
This is not the version of you that's sitting here right now.
The version of me that's right here today.
It's not the love and legacy part of you right
Correct.
now. Cooked a meal and posted it.
I was doing it on purpose, okay? I was very petty, very messy of me, but that's...
And my sister saw it.
I think we had gotten in an argument or something.
Oh, we had a big, nasty argument.
We had gotten in an argument, and the ex just so happened to have been like...
I hit you with you can get your shoes on and leave right now.
Yeah.
And she put her shoes on and stormed out my house, and I was like, I ain't tripping off that. And then like a couple hours later, you cooked baked a ziti or something like that for your ex and posted it on Facebook. And within, what would you say, 8 minutes, 12 minutes of you posting that, I called her, and she didn't answer the phone.
I turned my phone off.
Turned it off. So this was not me in my healthiest state either. We won't get into this story because it's not appropriate for a podcast public setting. But just know I had ended up with her ex's phone number. So I called him because I'm crazy. And when I called him, she answered his phone.
Which I also wouldn't recommend.
And answered with some attitude. I said, yo, come outside. I'm not even at my house. So I said, hey, listen, I'm outside of your friend's house. Either you come downstairs or I'm coming upstairs. How do you want this to work? And all you heard was pat, 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 pat. That girl ran down them steps so fast. She was like, listen, I'm so sorry. I was upset, da-da-da. And he came downstairs and tried to make a scene, and it wasn't that. But this is a really defining moment in our relationship because this is the moment you closed the door for officially. Yeah. Because I kind of let you know, like, I get it. We got into it really bad, and I really did say some stuff that was hurtful and intended to harm you in that argument. And I took the moment to own that and apologize. And I'm like, what we're not going to do is this.
Yeah.
So you're either going to get in the car with me right now and we are leaving, or you can stay. And if you're staying, just understand you're staying.
That's what you're choosing, yeah.
Baby girl didn't put her shoes on, got in the car, and that was the end of that season.
I said, ooh, that's a different sex.
And I don't tell that story to highlight any of our
toxicity.
Yeah, toxicity at that time. But it's part of our love story because I think for a lot of people, they think that if it's turbulent in the beginning, it can't last forever. If it's rough in the beginning, then it's not going to mean anything. And I think what helped us turn the corner was to first of all go, we don't want it to be that.
Yeah.
And then I think our next turning point was pregnant with Trip and trying to figure out what we were doing. We weren't married yet.
Yeah.
And having to get to this point and the arguing again and going, wait. Are we going to be together or are we going to co-parent?
Yeah.
And I think that was another
that was a gut punch.
That was another wake up call.
Yeah.
Of like, we got to figure out what we're doing. And just, I'm highlighting this stuff because I want people to know that our love story is not La La Land. And
it was very much Love and Hip Hop in the beginning. It was.
Had a little Tyler Perry on it at the beginning there.
It was.
But I think the reason we always share those parts, we're not embarrassed to share those parts. We don't praise or highlight those moments. We want people to know love and legacy is built on decisions.
Correct.
That we decided to love each other, that we decided to forgive, and that we decided I'm going to live my life a certain way.
Yeah.
In order for this relationship to, first of all, be the priority, but then also we don't need to be ghetto forever.
Yeah.
You know?
And we chose each other. We made
the
decision and we were like, this is what we're going to do. And we decided to be committed to that. So committed to that when we did end up pregnant before we got married, we knew we didn't want to drag a child into
that mess,
into nonsense. Sure. And so coming to the table and being like, hey, we're two grown adults.
Yep.
Either we're going to get it right.
And we were young at the time. I was 22.
I was 24.
Yeah, we were babies.
Yeah. And so, we had to have the real conversation of like, are we going to commit to getting it right?
Sure.
Or if we can't do that, then we just need to go ahead, cut our losses, and just decide that we're going to co-parent from Lynchburg, Virginia for the next 18 years. Yeah.
And I think one of the things, I remember that conversation so vividly because I remember telling you the only reason I'm still here is because you're here.
Yeah.
But if we're going to co-parent, I'm not staying here.
Yeah.
And now we would have to figure out distance. And I remember saying very boldly, I will not be around my child.
Correct.
So if somebody's going to visit, it ain't going to be me.
And at the time, me going back to Florida where my family was not an option.
Sure.
So it was, am I really about to be here for 18 years? Is this really about to be my life?
Yeah.
Am I really about to allow this man that I love, co-parent because of my pride, because I'm afraid of the unknown, because all I know is dysfunction and I'm afraid of what's on the other side of this? Or am I going to put my big girl pants on and decide like, all right, I don't know what the other side of this looks like, but if you're willing to step into that, like I'm committed to doing that as well. As long as you have grace for me along this ride,
That's what
I'll
I was
have
just
grace
about to
for
say.
you.
You took the words out of my mouth. It was for sure us deciding we wanted to be together and then deciding, all right, then I got to give you grace to grow. And for you, I think it was a lot of you giving me the grace to not be what you didn't see. Yeah. And me giving you the grace to not be what I did see, because what you didn't see growing up was the healthier version. I ain't talking bad about my family.
Absolutely.
Love the Alvarados. Love Papi and his crazy self. Absolutely love my mi suegra. That's my girl.
She's gonna love that.
That's my girl. Love Jeanette. But then what I did get to see with my parents, and it was so vivid at the time because my dad had just passed. So then he kind of entered this like Greek god of a person in my mind, not even a real person anymore. And it was grace for both of us.
And I don't know if I didn't mean to cut
good.
you off, but I don't know if we mentioned this in the last podcast, but I never got to meet his dad.
That's right. So I meet you in August. My dad dies in October.
Yeah.
So you had just missed each other.
Yeah.
And I never got to have a conversation with him about you or anything like that. So it was right. All of this was happening right in that season.
Yeah.
That was 2011. And then by March of 2013, we know Trip is on the way.
Yeah.
April 2013. So it was a very fast year and a half of that time. But I think more than anything in this episode, we want you to know love and legacy, not just the podcast, but the love and legacy we have built in our life came from us making a decision that this is what we're going to do and this is what we're going to be. And I want y'all to just make some better decisions. I'm going to look at all three cameras. Make a better decision, make a better decision, make a better decision. Decide. If we going to co-parent, decide, you know what? We are going to be the best co-parents ever.
Yeah.
Stop keeping them kids from their daddy because y'all ain't together no more.
And stop talking about your baby mama.
Stop talking about that kid.
Kids.
Stop talking about that boy's mom to him in front of him, man. It is. I probably would do this the first 20 episodes. Make sure that you understand this ain't just about marriage.
Yeah,
it's about your legacy, man. Stop withholding your child from the other parent, and stop tearing the other parent down, married or unmarried. If y'all are raising a child together, man, you have a responsibility to make sure that your kid knows they had the best freaking mom, they had the best dad in the world. And if that ain't true, let them discover that on their own.
And there will come a day, and I'm saying this as my parents split when I was.
This is what I was setting you up to do.
You did a fantastic job setting me up. But I am a product. My parents split when I was 12. And they did the absolute best that they could with what they had. And my mother did not know. I mean, my parents came to the United States. They're from Costa Rica.
Sure. Not speaking the language.
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
And they came to the States back in the 70s, 80s, I think.
I think early 80s.
Early 80s. And so, from my mom's, I can empathize with my mom.
Where she was, yeah.
She came to a country where my mom to this day doesn't speak the language that well either. All of a sudden they split. My father moves back to Costa Rica. My brother and sister, I told you, they're older. I think we talked about that already on the last podcast. So I was 12. They were already grown and out the house. And here she is in a land she didn't choose to come to because my father was the one that made the choice
Trying to raise your crazy behind.
And, so she did the best she could with what she had. But it was just the two of us for a big part of my life. And so I was there for a lot of the not so responsible conversations.
And I remember when we first started dating, I don't think you had a holistic view of both of your parents.
I did not have a holistic view.
Your dad came to visit, and I will never forget this. I have been telling you, because at the time, and I don't think I'm out of bounds for saying this, you and your mom weren't on the best of terms.
We were not on the best of terms, and my father and I weren't.
Y'all were. I remember.
Because of you.
I remember telling you, hey, your mom's not a monster. Your mom did the best she could. Your mom's not a monster. Your mom did the best she could. And your dad came to Lynchburg for something, and y'all walked down to the farmer's market. Yeah. And y'all were gone for 3 hours and came back.
And it was the first time I had a conversation with him, I think when I was like 15 or 16. Of like,
but it was your first adult conversation.
It was the first time that he was like, you're old enough to fully understand.
Yep.
And he answered questions and, but up until that point, my point is I grew up in a home where I only had my mom's perspective.
Correct.
And she did not have the greatest things to say to me about my father. But there came a day where we did have that conversation.
Yep.
And I was able to fully understand.
Yep.
Okay, it does take two.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, maybe would not have made that choice. Yep. And so I say all that to say, obviously if you're co-parenting with somebody that isn't making good choices for your child and you're in an abusive situation, we're not saying that you need to suffer through that, obviously. But for those of you that have made the conscious decision to co-parent and have parenting plans in place and all of that, there will come a day that your child will learn for themselves and see for themselves, not out of their like rose-colored glasses, right? Like, that's my dad. Those will eventually fall off, and you will see them for who they are, and they will have to decide at that point, do I want to continue this relationship with this parent, or do I prefer to just move on without them?
Yep.
And that is their choice to make. So my 2 cents on the matter. We're not talking about this just to say it.
That's right.
It is my lived experience.
That's right.
And that's why, that's something that we do make a big deal out of, make sure that we talk about.
I hope it's helpful for y'all, man. I really do.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. Keep coming back. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep
Love
going.
and legacy.
Love and Legacy Pod. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you soon.